Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome officially to the channel. This is a series where I look into the history of various different ways that developers have helped us interact with the games more physically or mentally. And this one's going to seem quite odd, even for Atari, and if you've been around my channel, you know that's something special. So without further ado, let's dive into the weird, wild world of Atari once again, and take a look at the Atari keyboard? The Atari keyboard's kind of confusing with its inception, because it kind of comes with two different stories. The first story I found goes as follows. See, right around the time that the Magnavox Odyssey 2 came out with its Keyboard is the Key campaign, Atari found itself in some, let's say, legal trouble. During all this time, they had been advertising their popular Atari consoles, the Atari VCS. The VCS standing for Video Computer System. The key word in all this is computer. You see, there's no way for a user to input data into the VCS as there was actually no keyboard. Atari took the lawsuit seriously and aimed to bring out a keyboard for the console to basically get out of the lawsuit. The second story is that the hardware department was working on ways to expand on the Atari console itself and add more flexibility, most of which would actually culminate in the Atari 8-bit computer line that launched in 1979. However, not before the Atari keyboard controller would come out as part of the original planning around said computer. Either way, the developers were, let's say, less than thrilled. You see, the majority of the games that were developed were games that developers were personally interested in putting together, whether it be arcade ports, board game conversions, or just concepts they were passionate about. They tended to get, let's say, annoyed when marketing would come to them and tell them they had to use a specific controller. So, understandably, they were less enthusiastic about making something for a keyboard-style controller that wasn't really part of any idea that anyone had. That didn't stop them from making games for it, however. They would come up and work with it and eventually come out with like 10 titles total. One of the more notable ones was Brain Games. This was a compilation of memory-focused games like Touch Me, yes, stop laughing, which was a variation of Simon Says. Others like Match Me would be on the card as well, which would show a series of images to the player, followed by one of the most terrible sounds to ever come out of the Atari 2600. Basically meant to break the player's brain prior to having them put all the images in the right order. The player would get points for how many they got right and the speed at which they did it. I will, as a kindness, spare you from the pain of hearing the god-awful sounds this game made when played. I know what you're asking though. What did this thing look like and how did it work? Well, let's take a look. Each one of these controllers would simply plug into the Atari like a normal controller, and the keypad would actually come with overlays, much like how the Intellivision and ColecoVision worked back in the day. These overlays would tell the player what keys did what for each game. It also had a small groove on the side that would allow the user to connect more than one together, if for some reason you had a game that had a reason to do so. It didn't, however, link them together. Each would need its own port in order to work, and was likely used for a small number of games, like say, for example, Basic Programming, which was just a cart that did exactly as it described, allow people to program in BASIC on their Atari 2600, which it, of course, couldn't save anywhere due to the fact that the console didn't have any memory. So everything you worked to program on would be lost as soon as you turned off the console and was mostly intended as a learning tool, nothing more. As for influence, it's really hard to say. It's unlikely this influenced much of anything in the grand scheme of computing. It's unlikely that Intellivision looked at this for any inspiration, as it looks to have come out around the same time, 1979, as the Intellivision console itself released. It simply appears to be one of those random ideas that happen to be in the works in multiple people's minds at the same time, just with less success than other examples. Primarily because it was made after the initial console and really had no developers championing its use in the console around the time that it actually did come out. However, what do you guys think of this one? Do you think this is a cool controller? What games would you have liked to have seen made or adapted to use it as a control option? Let me know in the comments. For now though, thank you so much for watching and spending part of your day with me. If I could ask you for one more favor, please leave this video a like. And if you haven't, consider subscribing. That really does help me out quite a lot. For now though, thank you once again, and until next time, happy gaming.